You are watching WPTV.
Welcome back to the desk. The NFL crew is back to talk some pro football, and with me I got Marc, Fritz, Nick, and Joe. You know, Marc, every NFL season there's some teams that overachieve, underachieve, but this year it feels like especially there's been a lot of disappointing teams. Who has really let you down this season?
Well, let me down is definitely my Denver Broncos. I mean, 3-6 record right now after a very promising offseason where you get Russell Wilson, you bring in an offensive coach in Nathaniel Hackett, and you have a solid draft even without a first-round pick, and you're 3-6 right now. I mean, Denver Broncos, what happened? Like, just awful.
Definitely Broncos country not really riding high.
No, hiding right now. Broncos country, let's hide.
Hiding, crying. Joe, who's your biggest disappointment?
Listen, a lot of people in Louisiana are very happy about Mardi Gras, but are not happy about the New Orleans Saints. And this team's been a huge disappointment. 3-7, third in the NFC South. This is a team that's little with talent on the defensive side and on the offensive side, especially with Chris Olave, Kamara, unfortunately, Michael Thomas, Slant Boy, he hasn't been healthy. Jameis Winston, the back situation, right? He hasn't been starting at all. And you can't win games with Andy Dalton at QB, so you have a terrible quarterback situation. So unfortunately for New Orleans, it's been a tough season so far, and I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it around.
Very winnable division, too. They've kind of haven't really met their standards. Missing Sean Payton, missing Drew Brees. Fritz, who's let you down this season?
Taking things back to the AFC West has to be the Las Vegas Raiders, coming off a year when they were 10-7, making the playoffs, losing to the eventual AFC champion Bengals. They acquired Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones from the Cardinals, pairing them with Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, and they're 2-7 with 6 losses coming in one-score games. Not what you're looking for. You would think that they would be in the lead for the AFC West championship, but they're not, so very disappointing.
2-7, got Devontae Adams, got a new head coach, really supposed to turn kind of a new page for the Raiders. That fan base has really been not so happy. But Nick, what team has not met the bar for you?
I'm getting word that the lights are getting turned off in Buffalo because the Bills aren't getting paid. The Bills, they're just not performing. If I'm going to be honest, yeah, sure, they're 6-3 on paper, but in the last 2 games, we've seen a lot of holes in the offense. We've seen them, not get it done in crunch time. We've seen them leave a lot of points left on the field, and honestly, I think it's going to be a problem going forward and moving towards the playoffs. So at this point, a disappointing season for the Bills is even if you make the playoffs, not going to the Super Bowl. That's a disappointment, and it's looking like they're not going to be able to make that run. So that's
the playoffs are still, we got a number of weeks away. They can turn it around. They're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, but I don't see them turning it around. Honestly, if you look at it right now, Kansas City's outplaying them. Josh Allen isn't really sharing the ball. He's the leading rusher on their team, which is really a problem. So there's just a lot of holes on this offense that I feel like they need to kind of fix before we can even talk about them as a contender at this point. At this point, they're no longer in that contender conversation for me in the AFC.
But why is him being the leading rusher a problem?
Because he's the leading rusher, and he's
if no one else can do the job, like you got Devin Singletary and Naheem Hines back there.
He's rushed for like 400 yards though. So being the leading rusher, he's still not even getting the job done.
Someone's got to do the dirty work.
Yeah,
someone's got to do it.
Okay, well he rushed last week and he fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line. So do you really want him to be a leading rusher?
Yes.
Do you want him to be that
He
guy?
did score a touchdown against the Jets on a
one fumble doesn't change my opinion of him as a runner.
And lost that game later on. At the end of the day, Josh Allen has not been getting it done all season. He's throwing hospital passes to his receivers. He's really only giving the ball to Stephon Diggs.
All season?
All season he's been throwing hospital passes.
I mean, yeah, the past
No,
few
they're
games
6-3, but all season.
No, all season he's been throwing these hospital passes.
They're probably still the favorites to win the AFC North.
You got to watch these games. You got to watch what Diggs has to do to catch some of these balls. You got to watch what Gabe Davis has to do to catch some of these balls. He's not getting them open. That's all I'm saying.
My friends had a lot of trauma being a Bears fan.
I'm not a fan of Josh Allen.
Had some trouble this season, but there are some rookies in the NFL that have really been impressive. Not so much lacking like some of the teams we previously discussed. But Joe, what rookie has really stood out to you?
Listen, man, Jets, Jets. How about Sauce Gardner at the quarterback position for the New York Jets? He's been nothing but a phenom at that position. He's got 2 interceptions, 13 pass defended, 30 total tackles, and his PFF coverage grade is 87.8. Hasn't allowed a touchdown in college when he was at Cincinnati. But for the Jets, only allowed 1 touchdown in 9 games. He's been a lockdown defender and has been a huge difference maker in that secondary for the Jets.
You're already getting comparisons to Darrelle Revis. It's very good company to be in. Fritz, what rookie do you like?
Yes, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker III out of Seattle. This running back has been really great for them, he has 587 yards, 7 touchdowns, but the most impressive stat is that he's averaging 5 yards per carry and has 6 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, showing that he's a closer. Really great back for the Seahawks.
Yeah, definitely an impressive running back. Seahawks have already overachieved in my eyes. Nick, what rookie do you like?
I'm going to keep it at the running back position. Not much has been going well for Houston over the past couple of years, but one thing that they did get right is this draft pick with Dameon Pierce. He has been doing amazing this year. 4.7 yards per carry right up there with Kenneth Walker. 165 rushing attempts, so they're really trying to give him the ball a lot, and he's been really making the best out of what has been a disappointing season for Houston.
Yeah, Houston definitely has a problem as far as the talent on that football team, but Dameon Pierce is that exception. Marc.
So I'll keep it in the division, the AFC South, and I'll bring it back to the defensive side of the ball. Travon Walker, the first overall pick in the 2022 draft. He was doubted a lot for a lack of pass rush plan. They thought he was drafted only because of his athleticism and his size, but he's showing he can get pressure and he could be a dominant force for the Jaguars for years to come.
Definitely been one of the MVPs of that defense. And MVP rankings, it's always a subject of controversy. We're going to bring a little bit of that controversy here to the desk. Nick, I want to know, who are your MVP candidates throughout this point of the season?
Well, there's a good amount of guys that can be thrown around here. This is really a two-man race, though, I'm going to be honest, between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. You've got guys like Saquon Barkley, who has had a, kind of resurgent year leading the league in rushing. You got a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's leading Minnesota to an 8-1 record, kind of at the helm. You got a guy like Josh Allen, who, even though I'm not a fan of, you can't, take him out of this conversation, but it's a two-man race between, the best quarterback in the league and, the undefeated, quarterback for the Eagles.
Kirk Cousins definitely overexceeded a lot of expectations. That really stood out for me on your list, Nick. Drip Cousins lately, all those changes his teammates been putting on him. Marc, who are your MVPs?
Yeah, so I agree with Nick that it's basically a two-man race right now between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. I personally have Mahomes at the one spot, but for me, I've got another interesting guy in there, and Geno Smith. I just think, what's wrong with Geno?
My fault. I just had a call.
Okay.
Continue.
Geno's been playing well for the Seahawks. He's got him at 6-4 right now. I think that he's just really impressed me. Maybe more likely to win Comeback Player of the Year, but he's on my list for sure.
Saquon could win that too, by the way.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Joe, give some love to Saquon Barkley. Geno Smith's definitely an interesting one. He might be a Comeback Player of the Year candidate, but where are you going with your MVPs?
I'm going to start from number 5. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill. Listen, Tyreek Hill at the wide receiver position for Miami, he's been nothing a difference maker for the offense, and for Tua, who's also on my list. But this, overall though, it's all about Patrick Mahomes, number 1 for me, because of how dominant he is, how much the Chiefs have been dominant this season, sitting at 7-2, first place in the AFC West. And the way Mahomes is, throw the ball, run the ball, all these crazy tricks. He's been nothing but electrifying this year.
Tua turned the ball over with the help of Tyreek Hill.
Wow.
Has really changed that narrative. Definitely they're undefeated when he plays from wire to wire. Missed a couple games of injury, but Fritz, who has really stood out to you this season in the NFL?
Yeah, so my top 3 is definitely Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. Just showing that great improvement, having them coming out to an 8-1 start, 14 touchdowns, only 3 picks on the year. Second, definitely Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league by far, offensive nightmare. And then third, we have Tua, 71 completion percentage, and when he starts the game and finishes, the Dolphins are undefeated. I think also you have to throw in Saquon Barkley and Tyreek Hill having great years for their respective teams.
Not always a quarterback award. It's probably going to be this season either Hurts, Mahomes, Tua, but I love Saquon. I love Tyreek Hill getting some love. Fritz, I'm going to keep it to you. For some MVP picks, always the traditional game picks to close it out. Got a nice AFC West matchup on Sunday Night Football between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers. Who do you think is going to take home that W?
Yeah, I think it has to be the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers have had too many injuries to overcome of both the offensive side and the defensive side. When your top 2 receivers are both out, it's never going to be a positive recipe for a win. So Kansas City should win this pretty handily.
Definitely got that that key receiving core in Kansas City. Got a lot of new faces in there, but they've played well with Pat Mahomes. Nick?
I just checked my phone. It's at 100%. I don't need the Charger. I'm going with the Chiefs. If we're going to be honest, the Chiefs, they got the best quarterback in the league. All of us have Patrick Mahomes at the top of our MVP board. This isn't really a conversation. They're gonna kill the Chargers.
That was clever.
Thank you.
Marc, do you need a Charger?
I think I do. My phone's at about 2% right now, but give me the Chargers. They played the Chiefs close earlier in Arrowhead, and that's pretty impressive earlier this season. But now they're home. Granted, it'll probably still be a Chiefs home game, knowing Charger fans, or lack thereof. But still, I've got them here.
Joe, close us out. We got 2 Chiefs and 1 Chargers.
Listen, I'm going to go with Chiefs, Keenan. I love the Arrowhead. Listen, the Chargers have been nothing but a disappointment, unfortunately. Injuries really killed them. And it's been some type of curse over there that injuries really affect the team. But the Chiefs are just the better team overall. They got Tony in the trade from the Giants, and I think Tony's going to be a special player for the offense, the way how they've been very electrifying. He's going to be a special gadget player. He's going to be maybe their next Tyreek Hill, right? But other than that, Mahomes and the way he leads his offense, Andy Reid, listen, they're just an overall very talented team. They're just better than the Chargers.
Definitely going to be an electrifying game. Very talented, both teams in contention. I cannot wait to watch it, and I cannot wait to be back here on Sports Desk. And follow us at Sports Desk WP on Twitter and Instagram. So we'll be back in 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. But from everyone here, the cast and crew, and the tallest man in the room, Al Clark from Hamilton Hall, I'm Jimmy Patton.